This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, Stefano Fusaro is joining us, baby. MLS, and you know right now we got the U.S. Open Cup. We got Miami taking on Cincinnati, semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup, and then Miami will start their MLS play also to try to see if they can actually sneak into the playoffs. And, of course, my man, you can follow him on S_Fusaro. Stefano, how you doing, my man? You doing all right?
Doing all right. Great to talk to you again, Orlando, and yeah, man. Just to all my Miami people, just all my Miami people listening. Just I'm not down there anymore, but remember, I still got love for you, all of you. You know that.
No, I know. Dude, are you like? This has been like the magical ride of them all. You know what I mean? Like we're on this magic carpet ride. Dude, we saw Higuain come here and thought he could smoke cigarettes and hang out and score goals. Remember, and he had to get a wake-up call. We saw Chicharito in the West Coast, struggle. Those of us that follow the MLS and for me, I've always been a huge local soccer supporter as always. And we've watched guys come from other leagues because, everybody talks crap about this league. But then when they get here, there's always an adjustment period. Brother, there's been no adjustment period. It's been, it's been the most beautiful ride you could ever imagine. It's like Angels in the Outfield, like that movie. Everything is going their way, dude. Are you shocked that it's been this smooth?
A little bit, but in reality, not really, because we've seen Messi do this at the highest level for years and years and years to some of the best players in the world. Now, okay, fine. You could say maybe you didn't expect it in the first or the second game, but, by the third or fourth, you'd expect him to be doing his thing. And, we talk about Higuain and we talk about other players, Chicharito. You can mention Andrea Pirlo, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard. You're talking about some of the best players to ever play this game. They're still not even close to what Messi is. And they didn't have success when they came here to Major League Soccer. But Messi's on another level. You're talking about the greatest of all time, or, for some who may say, okay, maybe not the greatest, but the second or third, whatever. It's still the best player to ever come to Major League Soccer, without a doubt, not even close. And you're seeing just the impact he can have. What's most shocking to me is that he's not just doing this, but he's doing this at 36 years old after winning a World Cup. You can see that he doesn't have the pressure anymore. Even those big players that we talked about before, they come here and they still have the pressure to perform because, they're still elite players in world soccer. So they still have the pressure because they want to be able to perform and show out in a league which is supposedly quote unquote inferior. Messi doesn't have that pressure, but he's still performing, just playing so loose. We saw that video recently where he was just walking on the pitch that turns around.
Dude, is there any chance that that's happening because he already lives here? His wife wanted to be here. He's comfortable. We have a huge Argentine population here. There's Argentine restaurants all over the damn place, just like Colombians, just like Cuban, just like, we got all kinds of restaurants down here, but we're obviously Central and South America. We're rich when it comes to that culture. So is there any chance that, he's happy, but at the same time, he's hungry because he didn't come here to vacation like Higuain thought he was going to just vacation and kick goals and all that kind of stuff. He actually has come here to really play ball, but at the same time, it's almost like he didn't go to a home away from home when he went to other play. Like when he went to Paris, he didn't go home away from home. Here, he's kind of in his second home. So maybe almost there's kind of like this, coño chico, en mi casa. Like that kind of
You
know what I'm saying?
Without a doubt. I mean, every interview he's done, he's talked openly about how his family and himself weren't happy in Paris. And, as a family man myself, and you understand when things aren't right at home, when your wife or your kids or your family isn't happy where they are, it's going to affect you on the pitch. It's going to affect your work. And that's where he's at. He said it. It was a decision that he made as a family to decide to go to South Florida, and because his family, he had offers from Saudi Arabia for billions of dollars, offers from Barcelona to be able to go back, even though that was never really materializing, just because they can't afford to pay him at this point. But yeah, of course that has something to do with it. He's happy, he's calm, he's at peace. And what I thought, Big O, what I thought was awesome, and I think is really telling about this entire process, when he scored that first goal, when he scored those goals at home over there at Drive Pink Stadium, he got to go and hug his kids like that. He's never, ever been able to do that in Barcelona and PSG, or when he's playing for Argentina, because his kids can't be there. They'll get mobbed. It'll be impossible. Right. Here, he can do that. In South Florida, he can do that. And you're seeing the happiness and the joy. And I think you're seeing it manifest itself on the pitch, because he's been absolutely dominant. And it's pretty crazy to watch.
Moss built those kick-ass boxes on the floor, on the field. That keeps you away from everybody, bro. Those things are tight, man. Those So it's amazing how that man built that stadium for fun while he builds the real one. People don't shit like that, bro.
No, absolutely not.
Money and all that kind of. This guy went and built it in 8 months, and now he's going to build the real one. And so my follow-up to that would be, dude, how lucky is the MLS? Because as much as people tell me, oh man, he could have bought the Marlins. There's a part. Yo soy cubano, so I know that baseball is super important to me. But my brother, I've been going to Strikers games since I was a kid with the NASL. And I grew up, and I was the stadium announcer for the Fusion and the Miami FC, and then worked now for Inter. And I've been so close to local soccer for 30 years and even longer as a fan that secretly I was kind of – I even told George once a couple years back, I said, man, I'm glad you bought the soccer team. In the end, it's going to make you more money because it's going to grow in value more than what you would have invested initially in baseball, and it would have taken you a lot more to get your money back, and maybe you don't get it nearly as much. Now the soccer team, whatever it's going to cost you, bro, it's going to go over $1 billion very soon now with Messi. So to me, I'm, selfishly, I'm kind of glad, but how lucky is the MLS, dude?
Oh, yeah.
To get
it's huge.
I lived Horowitz in the Fusion, bro.
I was there as a fan, as a kid with the Miami Fusion back in those days. I remember being there. I remember going crazy, and I was devastated when the team was gone. So I remember those days as well. As an Argentine kid growing up in South Florida with my parents, taking me to those games, it was such a cool experience. But now you see Jorge Mas. Look, MLS, they hit the jackpot with Jorge. Obviously, Beckham has a lot to do with it, but Jorge was the guy. Jorge is the guy who represents this community. It was
dead in the water until Moss.
Yep. It wasn't going to happen. Let's be real. It wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to figure it out until George got involved or Jorge got involved. And you got to applaud him. And, I saw him at the presentation when Messi was introduced as a player, and I congratulated him. And I said, look, man, this is awesome. Just forget what I do, forget that I'm a broadcaster for Major League Soccer. Like, I'm just happy as a South Floridian, like as to see this and to see what he's been able to build and the work he put in, years work, to make sure that Messi arrived at InterMiami and arrived with his guys, Busquets and Alba. That work cannot go unapplauded. It needs to be, it needs to be up there with one of the biggest achievements in South Florida sports history. I think that 100% you can compare it to LeBron coming to Miami, if not even bigger. I know that some people won't see it that way just because it's not our sport, but absolutely. I mean, you're talking about the most globally known sports face, if not one or two, in the world is now playing football in Fort Lauderdale.
Let's not forget, Messi wasn't at LeBron's first game. LeBron was at Messi's first game.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's just put it in context.
Remember that, yeah.
It's all the stars want to meet the star, okay? Because everybody knows he's the star. No, I think everybody in South Florida, no matter even if you hate soccer, I think you've come to realize, like, there's no power like what we've seen here. It was when I was a kid, con Pelé, and you're at Giant Stadium and there's 75,000 in a soccer game in the 70s. And that league never had the power that the MLS has now with the contracts it has now, with the team, with teaming up with Apple, 30 teams now, and it's growing and growing, and more teams. We're gonna have more teams when it's all said and done. So the question I have for you is, do we have enough crazy owners like Jorge Mas? Because I know we have one in town also named Ricardo Silva, who runs the Miami.
Yes.
And let me tell you, that man is a hell of an owner, okay?
Yeah.
He did with the KSDT a few years back. Fafa Picolt, by the way, for Nashville.
Yep.
One of the players
Involved.
there was like a 10 or $11 million salary cap salary structure for the NASL, which is just ridiculous. So you need guys like Jorge Mas and Ricardo Silva. Do we have enough in the MLS? Did he start the fire? Are they going?
I think that there are. I think that there are owners that want to spend. I think that there is a faction of owners that prefer the developing players route in like a Philadelphia, an FC Dallas. They prefer that, which they're still pumping out good players and they do good business and it's good as well. The bigger issue is, and obviously this is an issue that goes way above my pay grade and way above a lot of people's pay grade, is there are, the roster rules in Major League Soccer may be looked at as a little bit old, antiquated, not ready to bring in that caliber of players. As Messi, obviously, with the designated player rule, it makes that possible. But you're still very limited as to what kind of roster you can build in Major League Soccer. Liga MX, for example, has guys on the top teams in Liga MX roster in Mexico, the teams like Monterrey and Tigres. They have the equivalent of 7 or 8 designated players on each roster for their team because they don't have the same salary cap rules and the same spending rules that Major League Soccer has. I think that, and again, this is something that, again, is above my pay grade, and I'm not in this room for these conversations, but
no,
I think that having Messi arrive is going to open things up for the league to realize, okay, we need to open up these rules. We need to make it a little bit, let teams spend. The teams that want to spend, let them spend. So because it's just going to be better for the league. Going to get better players. It's going to be a better product all around.
Right. I remember Seattle, Los Angeles. Some of these teams can actually spend because they got Portland.
Seattle.
They get attendance,
Yes, like, Seattle, LA. Both teams in LA, really. Portland will spend. Their ownership is willing to spend. Even New York City. Remember, the New York City team, they're owned by Manchester City. Granted, they're not going to spend the same amount of money that Manchester City spends, but if they have rules, they're always a team that's willing to go out there in the transfer market and bring in good players. If they didn't have those roster rules, they could spend even more money. There are teams around the league that are willing to spend, and if the league allows it, Columbus, Cincinnati even is a team that's shown in their short time now willingness to take the chance and spend a little bit on a player. I think that if that happens, you're going to see teams. You'll see a difference, and that's okay. You're going to have teams that don't want to spend, and they might not be as good, and that's kind of what we've seen, in a lot of the leagues in our country, the non-salary cap leagues anyway, that they can kind of go out and spend and do their things, but it's only going to make it more competitive for Major League Soccer and eventually just put a better product on the field.
So, Stefano Fusaro, by the way, joining us. You could follow him on Twitter at @S_Fusaro and catch his work, of course, with the MLS and Apple. All right, so we look at this game against Cincinnati. Talk to me. What's the challenge for Cincinnati, for Miami when we look, because Miami's 4-2-1 in their history. Actually, they've actually had Cincinnati's number. But this is a different Cincy team. This is a really good Cincy team. They're coming off a nice loss here against Columbus. So talk to me a little bit. What's the challenge that Inter-Miami fans have to look forward to against Cincinnati in a beautiful stadium, by the way? They've got an awesome stadium.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. One of my favorites of the new stadiums for sure. Look, I think that Cincinnati has not lost a home game this year in any competition at all. They lost the other day on the road to Columbus. They haven't, they didn't do so well in League's Cup. Maybe a coming down to earth type thing. They're going to be without, that was announced today, they're going to be without Mosquera, one of their top defenders. So that's going to be obviously a big plus for Miami. Miami's going to have to really defend. They're probably going to face I guess the best number 10, Hani Mukhtar, I guess, in Nashville was probably the top one. He didn't have the best game. Saw him a couple of chances there against Miami in the League Cup final. Lucho Acosta might be the next best number 10 that they've faced, and he's been on fire this season, so he's someone that they're going to have to watch out for. Brandon Vasquez, starter for the U.S., played for the U.S. men's national team. He's a starter for Cincinnati as well on that front line. But I think that Miami is getting Cincinnati at the right time. They're getting them when they're a little bit, banged up with injuries and a little bit, in a kind of a slump. But again, that atmosphere in Cincinnati is going to be similar to what we just saw in Nashville. It's going to be popping in there. It's going to be banging. But again, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, can't bet against Messi. You just can't. I mean, you just can't bet against the guy when he's been on this tear and he's just going to another stadium to kind of just try to do his thing. I think that Miami does have that advantage just to be playing Cincinnati at the right time. Won't be easy, but I think it's the right timing for sure for Inter Miami.
By the way, they're 4-2-5 since June 10th. A lot of ties in the process. So Cincinnati's, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for them. When we look at the whole Messi success, and I'm trying to remember, was it Flamingo or something like that? One of the things that people used to talk about Maradona in at the beginning of his career, the team that he took to the championship that was in the Argentine league. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Boca Juniors.
No, before the first
Argentinos Juniors. Yes,
that's what it was called.
Yes, Argentinos Juniors. That's where he started his career. Yes.
Why did I think there's a Flamingo or Flamenco or something?
Flamengo's in Brazil. It's the other one of the top teams in Brazil, but he never played for them.
No, so it was the
they might have played against. It might have played against Flamengo in the cup you're talking about. Argentinos Juniors. That was his first team.
It was, but he took those juniors to like the championship, and it was like nothing. And one of the things that we all talked about, right, with Messi was, oh, dude, he's always played with all-stars all over him. Now he's coming to the MLS, and you were part of that conversation with some of your buddies, right?
Of course.
We all had this conversation. Well, dude, now he's coming to the MLS. He doesn't have all these all-stars around him anymore. So it's going to be harder for him, this, that, and this. So then how much more – he doesn't have the all-stars. He does have a couple of studs around him. I get it. But he doesn't have – and we're watching Kramashi play better and the Ruiz kid. Callender was a stud before they all got here already. Well, those of us that follow it, we know Callender was a badass. That Marsman was – oh, shit, man, I shouldn't have gotten into it.
Yeah, lost that job real quick.
Wally picked his ass. But anyway, so we know Callender, but some of these young guys, they're starting to play, Taylor, bro, he's 28, and he's never played in his entire career like this. So how much does this raise his greatness? Because we keep looking at it one way, like we started this conversation. Oh, I'm not that surprised because Messi's been burning the world. Why wouldn't he burn the MLS? Okay, so how much do we credit him for lifting everybody else up, dude?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Robert Taylor looks like Angel Di Maria. I mean, that was one of the things I tweeted out, I think, when he scored one of his goals. Like, Robert Di Maria Taylor with another goal. I mean, it's really unreal to see some of these guys just playing out of their mind. And all of that it comes with confidence, obviously. When you have a guy like Messi behind you, helping you, telling you where to go, hitting the passes exactly at your feet where you need to be, telling you where you need to be, all of that helps. You have to credit, man. I mean, it's pretty wild to see. I just didn't expect it to see everybody else play that much better and play that much over their head that quickly. I think that's what I'm more surprised. I always thought Messi was going to do his thing. It's how quickly he got all these other guys to be there to really buy into what he's selling and play out of their minds. Callender's been incredible. We saw him get called up for the U.S. men's national team. He's just on a meteoric rise, and again, he's now just playing with so much confidence. It's wild to see. But Robert Taylor, Kramaski himself. What a story for Kramaski, right? He's playing with his idol, like playing with the guy he grew up absolutely adoring as an Argentine kid, growing up in South Florida, just like I did. You know what I mean? It's just wild to see all that. And we haven't even seen, and I'm going to tell you, Big O, that Facundo Farias and I'm blanking on the name right now. Oh, Toto Aviles, two of the guys that just came in, they might be the two best signings that they've made. We haven't even seen them on the field yet, and they're going to be probably a very big part coming into the MLS regular season until the end of the season.
Napoli.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Napoli. Yeah, that's not where he started his career, but that's over in Italy.
Years. I just looked it up.
Yeah. That's where he became. That's where he became a legend. That's where he became a god. He won the World Cup in '86, and then he won the first 2 championships for Napoli in their history. Which, by the way, they just won their first one ever.
They had no history.
Exactly. And then they just actually won their very first title since that Maradona title now this past summer. So
that's right.
It's pretty not pretty big moment for Napoli for sure. Yeah.
I knew I was brain farting. I was going, what am I? Then
All
I
good.
Looked it up. I go in Napoli, man, because that was part of Maradona's greatness. That like and I'm not comparing Napoli to what he's doing here. Please don't get crazy.
A little different, yeah.
A little different. But I'm just giving him a little. I just want to give him credit because and obviously Busquets deserves. Jordi Alba deserves, a lot of credit. And what's the scary part, Stefano? Okay. Jean Mota's not back yet.
I know.
And their best defender in Gregory is going to get back. And when they get hit, and they're already practicing. So I don't know. They're pretty close to I kind of think they're saving them for MLS play. I almost feel like they're saving them for the MLS play and keeping them out of these tournament games to get them as healthy as possible. Because right now they don't need them, but they're going to need them because they're going to get tired now.
Because because you want to give the guys, if you're in a tournament like that, you want to give the guy, if you're performing, you don't want to switch things up in tournaments like that, really. So you want to just keep it going, and you'll eventually bring these guys back in. Because remember, there's still 12 games left in Major League regular season. They need a lot of wins to make the playoffs, as we all know. Has kind of been what everyone's talking about. So you're going to need that rotation. There's also some international breaks where Messi might not be there. So you need to you're going to need that rotation and that depth. And it's going to be, amazing to be able to plug in a Gregory, plug in a Mota when you really need it in a moment. Guys that are experienced, guys that were probably your best players before Messi, Busquets, and Alba arrived at the club.
And I think Joseph now really – that the couple of runs he had a couple of games back where really showed the knee and the speed, and you're like, okay, maybe he's all the way back now, and then confidence and groove and all of that. So if you are missing, him, a guy like Joseph can really step up. And then, dude, tell me about Cremaschi. What the hell, dude? That kid, awesome. For a youngin', that is one controlled character right there, bro. Wow.
It's just cool, right? He's wearing number 30 because 10 wasn't available because they, knew that this might be happening. He's wearing number 30 because Messi wore 30 as a kid in Barcelona, and then with PSG, he's from it's just a great South Florida story, right? An Argentine family from Key Biscayne, young kid, idolizing Messi, then ends up playing with him, and is now just playing with so much confidence, gratitude. It's a great story, and to see him playing so well and see him getting direction from Messi on the field, and Messi's pointing at, and you just see him like, yes, whatever you say, and then just doing a great job and doing so well. I think is just very cool to see.
Composure. Him and Callender have that kind of composure. You know what I mean? Some of the other young guys that they got, one guy's a little feisty when he comes off the bench. He gets into a little trouble, but Cremaschi
Gomez. Diego Gomez.
Yeah, I like him. You can tell the skills there, dude. He's just a little feisty, a little too feisty sometimes. And he's got to slow down a little bit. But it's not like the butchers we had the first 2 years that were just delivering yellow cards. Like Oprah, you get one and you get one and you get one. We had like some really, really questionable people on defense. So can I ask you for a prediction? Do they allow you to do that?
Yeah, I can predict. I will say 2-1 Miami. 2-1 Miami. 2-1 Inter Miami. I do think that defending is going to be the biggest issue with this club moving forward. I think they are a little bit vulnerable at the back, especially with the way they like to play. But I think there's just too much firepower, and if you give Messi just an inch of space, he's either going to score or find the guy who's going to score. And with Cincinnati's issues defensively with their injuries, I can totally see a Miami win on this one and advance to the final. Which, I mean, a trophy wasn't ever even in the mind of this club. They already got one, and they have a chance to get another.
Real Salt Lake or Houston advancing? Might as well ask.
Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake has become one of my favorite, besides Inter Miami, probably my second or third favorite team to watch in Major League Soccer. They are good. They are very good. They score a ton of goals. So if it's RSL Inter Miami, we're in for a show in that final.
All right, I'm looking forward to another trophy. Would be really
Let's
really
go.
nice. One more thing: do they make the playoffs in the MLS? In those 12 games, do they win? Boy, that is the miracle.
The popular answer among a lot of my coworkers is no. I'm going to say yes. I can't bet against Messi. They got to win at least 8 of their 12 games remaining. I think that's possible. He's won 7 straight now. They can do it.
They can do it. They can do it.
Yeah.
Stefano, appreciate you, my brother. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at S_Fusaro. So make sure you follow him there and catch his work there on Apple TV and MLS. Stefano, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you immensely.
Thank you for having me, Big O.